Greetings, Star Citizens, and welcome to another beautiful day in the verse. Today I thought I'd do something a little bit different, and I thought I'd show some of the ways, or all of the ways, that you can make Alpha UEC as a non-criminal currently as of 2.5. So these may change in the future when we get new missions, better missions may be taken away. But as of 2.5, these are all of the ways that you can make Alpha UEC, and I'm also going to talk about them and my sort of thoughts on them, which ones are best, which ones I tend to do. So the first, the most common, and the one that probably everyone's come across if you've flown around the verse, is the comma rays. Bringing the comma rays back online. I believe this was the first mission that got added. I think when the universe was first added, it didn't have all the missions, it just had these. You just flew around and you turn them on. It's nice and simple. You fly to the comma ray. There's usually 2 pirates to kill. They're not that difficult, and once you've killed them, you just move on and you bring the comma ray online. So a lot of people say that you need a good ship, you need a powerful ship, you need like a saber. And really you don't. I've done this with an Aurora, I've done it with Mustangs, I've done it with the lowest grade ships. It's doable in any ship you have. Now obviously if you have something like a Saber or a Super Hornet or something that's really powerful, then you are going to do it quicker and you're going to do it easier. The reason I use the Saber is basically just for the enter and exit. So you enter and exit a Saber nice and quickly. With the Super Hornet, you've got a load of animations where the character turns things on, switches dials, and essentially a proper startup that you would expect, and that takes a lot of time. And I'm an impatient person. I like to just get in and out nice and quickly, and the Saber is one of those ships that allows me to do it. Now, it's not the only ship. Now, when I did have a Freelancer, I used to do these missions in the Freelancer, because the Freelancer is surprisingly good at these missions. You can get in and out of a Freelancer nice and quickly, and it's also quite a powerful ship in terms of weaponry, and they're turreted, so accuracy isn't as big of an issue. Now, if you do enough of those comma rays, you will get the security mission. This is one that a lot of people don't know how to trigger it. A lot of people think it's random, but you do have to do a certain amount of ICC missions to get given this security mission. And essentially, the security mission, in my opinion, is the most boring, the most tedious, because essentially you've got to fly to Port Korea, you've got to enter Port Korea, obviously, and you press use on the terminal, and then you've got to wait for 10 minutes, and after 10 minutes you get your UEC. You get 2,500, which I think is a little bit too low for the amount of waiting time. I mean, obviously you're waiting 10 minutes. In those 10 minutes you could do probably 2, 3, maybe even 4 ICC missions and get 10,000 UEC. You can get a lot more UEC in a lot shorter time. So this is probably the worst way of making Alpha UEC, but some people find it extremely enjoyable. Some people like the idea of guarding something, and if you've been attacked by a bunch of people, if loads of people are hanging around Port Korea, then it can be fun, because you've essentially just got the FPS element, and you've got fear elements, because obviously if you die, you fail the mission. So if you die at 9 minutes, then that's it, mission failed, you wasted 9 minutes of your time. But there is another reason to come to Port Korea, and you don't need to activate any missions to do this, but it is always there, and it is one of the best, if not the best, way of making Alpha UEC currently, and that is the rum that is stashed in the back of Alpha UEC, the back of Port Korea. So not everyone knows about this little stash. Not everyone knows. People that know it's there don't know it gives you money. But if you collect these, you do get Alpha UEC directly given to you. So you can see we started off with about 17,000. We've done 2 ICC missions. I did 1 off camera, and I can't remember how to go back. There we go. So we've now got 3,200. Wait, what? I went from 17,000 to 32,000. I'm not sure how. I believe those things give 1,000 alpha UEC, but I'm not sure because I'm sure I started with 17,000 alpha UEC, but I might be wrong. I might have started with 27,000. 27,000 actually sounds more accurate, but regardless, the actual security mission, if you run up here, obviously it's marked on your HUD and everything, so you shouldn't have any trouble finding it. Use the console, use it once, because if you use it again, you terminate your contract. I've made that mistake before. Many other people have made that mistake before. Only use the terminal once, because if you end the contract, you don't get your payment. Ending your contract is basically saying, I'm bored of waiting for 10 minutes. Let me just leave. So do not end the contract. Do not use the terminal twice. Just use it once. If it's slow to activate, just be patient, just wait with it, and it will activate in its own time. But regardless, once you've activated that terminal, the waiting game begins, and your job is now to simply just sit and watch this terminal. You've got to protect the terminal. Now, you don't actually have to protect the terminal. You can just hide in a hole if you want to. So if you could just find a hiding spot, just crawl into it and just wait 10 minutes. I mean, maybe find a little hiding spot, crawl into it, and then go, you know, have some food or watch some videos, do whatever you want to do for 10 minutes and then come back. But it is a very slow process regardless. I mean, if you're the kind of person that likes to watch videos while you play, or you're multitasking all the time, you've always got stuff to do, it might be ideal for you. But for me, I find it way too tedious. I'm not really into the FPS elements of the game. I do quite enjoy it, but as it currently is, I'm not that into it. I'd like it to be refined like we are getting in the future. I mean, if it was refined like we have seen and like what we're getting, then I would enjoy this a bit more. And obviously if people turned up, I never get people turning up when I want them to. They always turn up at the most inconvenient times. And yeah, I find this boring. No one ever turns up. Having said that, there is someone now using it. So let's put some shots. We don't have our scope, so we're just free aiming that, but we took care of him. Now, the unfortunate thing, and we do get 250 alpha UEC for killing him, by the way, but the unfortunate thing is the people down below have a massive disadvantage. It is almost impossible to fight back. And there is another guy. So yeah, the video actually crashed there for about 2 seconds. So that guy's hiding behind the terminal. I think he saw me. But regardless, we did our mission. We've waited out 10 minutes. Obviously for you guys it wasn't 10 minutes. I cut it out. I don't want to just sort of show you just sitting around for 10 minutes or just talk to myself for 10 minutes. But he is still in there. He's still attacking the terminal. I decided to have mercy on him because I've done my job. My contract's over. I'm no longer security. And I've been in his position. Usually people that are trying to use that terminal don't want to be criminals. They have ended up just making a mistake. They've killed someone by accident. And yeah, it is extremely frustrating when you're trying to fix your mistakes and you're trying to be clean again and you get killed every time. I've been in that situation. It's frustrating, annoying, and I decided to have mercy on him. Now, one of the ways I tend to make alpha UEC, just because I find them quite relaxing and they're quite easy to do, you don't really have to get out your ship much and such, is these ICC probe missions. So if you fire to the ICC probe mission, you'll run across with Tessa here, which I'm pretty sure everyone's familiar with. I've been to these ICC missions quite a lot on my quantum test drive videos, so you would have seen me come here quite a few times, and each one of these probes gives you 2,500 alpha UEC. Now, the first one that you do is quite slow. It's quite a slow process. It can take a while. You get attacked by pirates, and it's fairly far away from the point where you jumped in. So the first one can be tedious, but what a lot of people don't know, because, or at least for me, when I first started doing these ICC missions, I did one of them, and then I went off and did something else, so I didn't feel like doing the same thing again. But if you go back to the ICC probe after doing one of them, you actually get a different mission. There is, I believe, 9, possibly 10 ICC missions that sort of go around in a cycle. Well, they go around in order, so once you've done one, you get the next one. We almost crashed into that guy, but it's all good. So for this first ICC mission, obviously a fast ship is going to be better. Getting to that little blinking red dot quicker is the priority here. But like I said in the beginning, it doesn't really matter what ship you have. You could do all of these with an Aurora without any problems. The only difference is it will be a bit slower, because obviously you don't have the same firepower to take out pirates as quickly, and you don't have the speed to get around these sort of little instances as quickly. Well, I'll say instances, it's not an instance, it is all one persistent universe, but it's like an instance. So you get around these little sections quicker, and normally we would have been attacked by pirates by now, but for whatever reason I've not actually had them spawn on me. I don't know why, but normally there is 2 pirates similar to the Comarays. There'd be 2 pirates that pop up, and you'd have to kill them. You don't really have to kill them. I suppose you could fly past them and ignore them and just go for the probe as quickly as possible, but there's a good chance they'll probably kill you, and or at least blow up your ship when you get out, and then you've got to respawn back at Port Olisar. You've got to spawn your ship again, so it's usually best to just take them out. They don't really take that long, they're not that hard to kill. Pirates at the moment are extremely squishy, easy targets to kill, especially compared to something like Vandul. They die in a few a few shots. The only ones that don't quite die as quickly are the M50s, just because they're small and slippery and harder to hit. But the M50 is a completely different situation entirely. So that's all you have to do for the ICC mission. That's that now done. That's 2,500 Alpha UEC. That one was exceptionally quick because we didn't have the pirates attackers, so we didn't have to take care of that. So that one was exceptionally quick, but even with the pirates, it's still pretty quick to get 2,500. And then obviously, like I say, you go back to Tessa at the ICC probe, and she'll give you another one. The second one, you don't have to get out your ship, you just got to kill a few pirates and then you're done. And it's nice and quick. It is a quick way of making Alpha UEC, and it's the method I tend to use. I tend to mix that with the rum in the back of Korea. I tend to just do a few rum runs. God, that's a mouthful. And then do ICC missions and just circle around those, and then do the odd Comare here and there, just to sort of mix it up, because I don't like repeating myself. I don't like doing the same things over and over again. But the final mission that you can do to earn Alpha UEC is this private investigator wanted or required, whatever it was. And this one, you just find some evidence. Now there is a hidden bit to this to get a little bit more out of it, and it's in this room. Now if you use this room, it is locked currently, but we can get a pass to unlock that. So that's one that not everyone knows, but quite a few people know it is. I think previously it was the best way of making Alpha UEC. I don't think it still is personally. I find these a little bit slow, but if you got good at flying around this little station, then it's a different situation. Now I actually haven't explored this place that much until I found out about this method. I only really recently sort of found out about this method. I knew it was around, but I'm not one to look at videos and spoil stuff. I like to find stuff myself. So I didn't actually explore. Normally I would just come into this room, I'd activate that terminal, and then I'd be on my way. I wouldn't come down here, I wouldn't see what this is. I don't think this does anything. I think that's just a journal thing, but I use it anyway. because I'm a curious little beaver like that. And so yeah, the actual extra key pass is through the window, but at the moment here I am just a little bit lost. I'm trying to figure it out. This is the first time that I figured it out, because like I said, I never watched videos on it. I've heard about it, and I've heard sort of like you fly through the room, but I was a little confused, and then I realized it's the windows behind the panel, these windows right here, and I eventually figure it out, and I'm like, oh, there's an extra room, and there's quite a bit down here. There's also a quick way of exiting. Previously I flew all the way backtracking the way I came in, which gets tedious, but yeah, I'm just having a little nosy, and I see this room and I'm like, okay, this has to be the room. So I fly out in here, a nice perfect little twist just to get through the window, and on this desk, oh I say on the desk, it's kind of floating above the desk, but technically on this desk is this little key pass, and that's what lets you open the door above, and that gives you an extra thing, a little extra thing. I think it gives you extra money, but it gives you extra information on this evidence, and you can hand both of them in. So if we just backtrack a little bit through the corridors and around the corner and back to the door, and the way to remember the door is it's the one with the vending machine floating right outside it, so it's this one right here, and that's how you remember, because there is a few, but that's how you remember it. So if you use that, it will now let you in, and you've got this little key pass. There's also a bottle of rum, but unfortunately you can't collect this one like the ones in Korea, so there's no extra money there. And the door has closed on me, which is unfortunate. Hopefully it lets me out at some point. I'm not locked in here, I might have to kill myself. But yeah, that's all the ways of making money. So now once we've got that, and once we get out of this door, however we're going to do that, we go back to the computer thingy my bobby what's it upstairs. We activate that and we'll get our alpha UEC for that, and that is currently all the ways you can make money in the game as a clean citizen. So criminals have different missions. A lot of these missions criminals can't do, and they've got their own missions. So for the comma rays, they've got one to disable them instead of bringing them back online, and they've also got missions to kill people that are trying to bring them online and stuff like that. So it's slightly different, but I'm not a criminal. I don't plan on being a criminal, so I can't really give you much insight on that. Now, before I end the video, I do just want to mention two things. Well, one thing, but two people. So one person in particular who goes by the name of Lord of Spooky X on Twitter, and his Twitter handle is @LordofGarnix. He actually gave me a shout out to my Patreon. He said that I should start a Patreon and people would support me, and I told him that I've had Patreon for quite a while now, but I've currently not got the support, and he gave me a shout out on Twitter, and that shout out caused one other person, or at least one other person, to Patreon to me, and he also Patreon to me, and that means the absolute world to me. So I just wanted to shout him out. He's an absolute legend. Check out his Twitter if you haven't already checked it out. Give the man a follow, because he is a legend. And to a lot of people it might seem like it's little, because a lot of people assume YouTubers are rich, YouTubers make loads of money, etc. But in my case, I don't. I started my YouTube channel because I came from a very well-paid job. I came from a very healthy income before I started YouTube, but I ended up losing that job, I ended up losing that income, and I ended up on an income of nothing, and I really struggled to pay my bills. I struggled to do anything, and I still do, because YouTube hasn't taken off yet. Not all YouTubers are rich. The only rich ones are the big ones, and currently I'm not big. So the fact that I now have two patrons supporting me means the absolute world to me, and it just makes my dream that one step closer. I'm one step closer to making my dream a reality. So my dream is obviously to be big enough on YouTube where I've got sort of my own community and get that social interaction with people that I see every day. And it is slowly getting there. It's already started getting there. You know, there's the comments that I see the same people commenting, and that's building that community. I see people sharing my videos, and it brings me tears of happiness because, like I say, it means the world to me. And I know it sounds very mediocre to say it means the world to me because every YouTuber says that, but it truly does mean everything to me. And the reason I don't sort of over advertise my Patreon, so the reason he didn't even know I had one, is I don't like asking for donations. I don't like shouting out my Patreon. I don't like saying in my videos, you know, every time, if you want to support me, then head over to my Patreon and give me money and like act like a beggar, because I feel like it's a bit rude, it's a bit cheeky, it's a bit cheap, and I don't like doing that. If people want to support me, I greatly appreciate it, and it literally pays my food, it pays my bills, it pays for me to live, it pays for me to keep doing what I want. So it means more than the world to me. It's my life. It literally is my life. So I greatly appreciate it, but I don't like asking for people to donate. I don't like sort of trying to force people into donate, because if people want to donate, they are going to. But yeah, if they don't want to, they're not going to. And that's perfectly fine. I understand not everyone can support me on Patreon. I'm in the same situation. Obviously, like I say, I'm broke. I have no money. I might have a Starfarer and a Saber, but I bought them when I had a healthy income. And I sort of regret buying them now, because now I've got no money. That money could go a long way. But yeah, there are a lot of people I would like to support, but I can't support. And so I understand if you can't support me, that is perfectly understandable. But my Patreon is in the description below if you do want to check me out, if you do want to support me. Like I say, it isn't required, and I don't want to sort of pressure anyone into it, but it would be greatly appreciated, and I would love you for the rest of my life, and the rest of your life, and the rest of your kids' life. I will just adore the shit out of you. But that is all for this video. That's all for that emotional little episode, which is completely off topic from the video, but hopefully you guys understand, and I will see you guys in the next video. Laters, taters.